Welcome, friends, to another Wolff Responds. This one might be entitled The Folly of Deregulation. The Trump administration, now in its first month or so, has been getting rid of regulators, controllers, people in charge of protecting the consumer from fraud, all kinds of government agencies who do what we could call regulate. Well, this is beyond words stupid. Let me explain simply. The history of regulation of every one of the boards and commissions that oversee the utility industry, consumer protection, bank lending, mortgage level, all the regulations were developed over 200 to 300 years of American history. And in every situation, the cause was the same. Private capitalist industries, with their eye on the prize for them, namely profits, were doing things that were risky. I remember reading the great works of Upton Sinclair, describing in one of his books the meat industry and describing his visits to the slaughterhouses where every kind of disease was afflicting the meat that we eat because it was profitable not to spend too much money, not to hire too many people to keep the slaughterhouse clean, to make sure the animals that were slaughtered were healthy, and on and on and on. Scandals erupted because of this, and the people demanded, and the politicians finally caved in and created a government agency to keep tabs, to make sure that the profit motive didn't kill us. That's why we have these agencies. Do they make mistakes? Of course they do. Every human enterprise is a human enterprise and will make mistakes. And that includes the regulatory agencies. But to imagine that if you deregulate, you will have nothing but good results is nonsense. And it makes no sense. And it has to ignore the history, which is what I just summarized, that those regulatory agencies came into effect because leaving things to the private profit maximizing economy is dangerous. Why do we have a Food and Drug Administration? Because we put the food and the drugs into our bodies, and we can't allow that to be governed by people whose major interest is not our health, but in their profits. We've had to learn that lesson here in the United States over the last two and a half centuries. To undo all of that now with some wild idea that this is going to make things better is historical nonsense, is theoretical nonsense. It may look good. It may sound like it's a great idea, but it is contradicted by anything and anyone who knows and is connected to the actual history of the American economy. For a soundbite, for a quickie story that says, look, this agency did something it shouldn't have done, therefore let's get rid of it, is a childish misunderstanding. But you know, it's a little bit like that. If there's nothing holding back a politician from saying whatever they can get away with to make their careers bigger, well, then we get this. Eradicating what we put in place to protect us. And you know what's going to happen? We are now going to see unregulated capitalists. searching as they always have for the almighty dollar as number one priority, the bottom line. And we are all going to be hurt by that. Our mortgage, our home, our diet, our medications, they're not going to be controlled. The corporations alone will decide what happens to us. And you know what the end of that story will be? A massive movement, 2, 4, 8 years down the road. And you know what it'll be called? Re-regulate. To put back in place what the Trump administration is getting rid of. And the cost? All of us who will suffer, be hurt, be dead, be abused, because it was politically advantageous to a group of politicians. If videos like this strike you as worthwhile, as comments on the immediate topical issues of our day, then please share them. Friends, neighbors, co-workers, family. That's why we make them. And of course, as you know, it costs money to do this. And if you can help us by contributing a little, it would help produce more of these and spread them more effectively across the United States and around the world. Thank you.